Rin Tohsaka. Rin Tohsaka, Tohsaka Rin, is one of the three main heroines of Fate/Stay Night who acts as the Master of Archer in the Fifth Holy Grail War. She is the current head of the Tohsaka family and the biological older sister of Sakura Matu. After the events of the Holy Grail War, she formally joins the Clock Tower and studies under the tutelage of Lord Elmeloy II in the Elmeloy classroom. She appears in the Adventures of Lord Elmeloy II as a major character. As part of the Elmeloy classroom, she is one of the many masters of True Rider in the True and False Holy Grail Wars of Fate/Strange Fake. 2 centuries ago, the Tohsaka House, in collaboration with the estates of Makiri in Einsburn, helped found the Fuyuki Holy Grail Wars. The land of Fuyuki City, which possessed the second greatest spiritual power in all Japan, was owned by Rin's ancestor, Nagato Tohsaka. At the behest of the Einsburns, he provided his property as battleground for present and future wars. Nagato was a Kirishitan WP, as well as a pupil of Zelrich. These titles gave him considerable influence in both the Mages Association and the Holy Church, allowing the Tohsaka family to participate in the Holy Grail Wars, free from harassment by either organization. Rin was brought up as the successor to her family's magecraft, and was instructed by her father to prioritize magecraft over her own interests. 10 years ago, Tokiyomi Tohsaka was selected as a master in the Fourth Holy Grail War, and Rin was entrusted to take care of the Tohsaka estate until his return. Her mother, Aoi Tohsaka, was left in a debilitated state from the war, so her care was left to her guardian, Kirai Kotomine. After her father was killed, Rin continued to improve her sorcery with some guidance from Kirai Kotomine. She also had a maid working since back when her father was alive, but left when Rin entered middle school, leaving her uniform behind. To divert attention from her private life, Rin has diligently strived to earn the admiration of her peers, even though she is secretly stingy, tomboyish, and a perfectionist. The rights to the Tohsaka lands were inherited by Aoi after Tokiyomi's death, and subsequently inherited by Rin after Aoi's death. Kirai managed them as Rin's guardian, and because of his foolhardy and coarse management, the majority of profitable properties ended up in the hands of others. It is possible that he believed the wealth was bad for her upbringing due to following the principles of humility and poverty. Although Rin resents the sacrifices she has endured for the sake of tradition, she is fiercely competitive and eager to prove herself as a skilled and capable magus. She was immensely disappointed at summoning Archer and ended up in a quarrel with him. However, the duo soon reconciled, set aside their differences and quickly got along. Appearance. Rin is a young woman with aqua eyes and long wavy brown hair in a two-side-up hairstyle, which consists of part of her being made into twin tails tied with black ribbons, while the majority hangs loose. During school, she wears the standard Hamurahara uniform, which she sometimes accompanies with a long red coat. Her casual clothing consists of a red turtleneck, a black skirt and long black stockings under brown leather flats. When she was young, she did her hair up in twin tails entirely, and her clothing consisted of a white shirt with a red necktie, a red skirt and long black socks, much like when she becomes older. In the Fifth Holy Grail War, she prepared a plain skirt and shirt for Saber, though it was originally a birthday present from Kirai. As an adult, she put down her hair. 2 years after the Heaven's Feel route ending, she wears a long sleeve red shirt and a long maroon skirt. Her alternative costume is a long red jacket, a white polo neck jumper, a black mini skirt and long leather boots. Personality. Rin is a perceptive, serious, resourceful, and very competitive person. Though she is widely admired at school as a prim and proper honor student, it is a front she puts up in order to prevent others from prying into her life. In private, she is notably loud, shrewd, stingy, and bossy but usually means well for those she cares about. She is known as a model student and idol of her school. Her manner of speech is often hostile and dismissive of other people, but deep down she has a caring, big sisterly disposition. Her tendency of making trivial mistakes at the worst possible moment is a hereditary curse. Though she really is a lot nicer than she seems, she claims to always make her decisions based on cold, rational logic in the end. In her own words, it's not a very cute personality. In fact, her choice in personal clothes is probably an overreaction to that. Despite claiming that she would do anything in order to win the Holy Grail War, no matter how underhanded, she has a deeply rooted sense of honor, seen refusing to dispose of Shiro despite numerous easy chances of doing so, simply because she owes him and deemed disposing of him without clearing her debts to be cheap. In short, Rin is a tough, fiery, perceptive, judicious, mischievous, and considerably aggressive tsundere who shows both sides of the trope. During her childhood, she understood the Fourth Holy Grail War about as much as Shiro understands the Fifth, seemingly understanding while not actually comprehending it. She saw her father as a great magus who must be respected and loved, but failed to understand the negative aspect of his personality, the cold-heartedness that accompanied such an ideal. If he had lived until Rin could actually understand his personality, it is likely that it would have greatly affected the development of her own personality. It is unknown if she would have opposed such inhumanity and left the path of a magus, or if she would have become a perfect and cold-hearted magus like her father. Either fate for Rin would have been one far away from happiness. Due to Tokiomi's early and untimely death, she was not aware of the original goal of the Holy Grail War to open a hole beyond the world. For the sake of her deceased father and her family's name, Rin seeks to obtain the Holy Grail, though she has little personal desire for it. Unbeknownst to her sister Sakura, Rin feels guilty and believes that she has abandoned Sakura after she is adopted into the Mato household. So much the guilt was what driven her to revive Shiro, Sakura's target of affection, at the brink of death. While Rin eventually admits that she has always watched Sakura from afar, she never realized how much Sakura suffered under the Mato and fooled herself into thinking Sakura was happy to alleviate her own guilt. She spent just as much time quarreling with Shiro as she did cooperating with him. She's a mischievous girl at heart, so she loves teasing serious people such as Shiro. However, Rin did want to kill him when she saw his gradation air in his shed, thinking that he lied to her. Although she claimed to be not interested in anyone, the Heavens Feel scenario revealed that Rin has been attracted to Shiro after witnessing his stubborn attempts to finish a high jump that he had no chance of finishing when they were younger. Rin was very supportive of Shiro's relationship with Saber in the Fate route. In the Unlimited Blade works, they became aware of their mutual crush and attraction which developed to love. In Heaven's Feel, Rin reveals her attraction to Shiro while giving advice for Sakura, and their closeness makes Sakura jealous and resentful of Rin. Her hobbies include admiring jewels. Although wealthy from her family's magical patents, she feels somewhat ashamed of having to rely on the work of previous generations. Abilities. Rin was born capable of manipulating all 5 great elements, an extremely rare trait for a magus. Her potential is such that she will eventually be considered as one of the top 100 ranking magi throughout the entire history of the Mages Association. Compared using simple numbers, someone with an abnormally high potential like Seal is at 100, someone who is eternally at apprentice level like Shiro is at 10, and Rin falls from 70 to 100. As the successor to the Tohsaka family, Rin excels in conversion of power, which includes storage of magical energy in objects, typically jewels for jewel magecraft, as they are easy targets to transfer magical energy into due to being places that easily store people's thoughts. Additionally, crystals that have been in the ground for a long time carry strong natural spirits. She uses them as disposable, limited-function mystic codes. Because the amount of energy a magus can release at one time is restricted by bodily limitations, giving them unused excess of magical energy at the end of the day, Rin has been able to accumulate all of the magical energy generated by her body during her 17 years of lifetime through jewel crystallization, using a syringe to draw out her blood and drip it onto jewels to accomplish the process. As with practicing of sorcery, charging these jewels has become a daily process for her, turning them into powerful bullets. However, in the end, they are merely disposable items. Because their sorcery reduces expensive jewels to ash after a single use, the Tohsaka Magi are fated to be chronically afflicted with a lack of funds. When Rin's stored power is needed, she can utilize the jewels for an instantaneous release of A-rank magic capable of countering a spell from Caster's Magecraft from the Age of Gods, or taking one of Berserker's lives by using 5 jewels. Their speed of release is great enough that it can match Caster's high-speed divine words. When she gets older, Rin is able to take advantage of her average 1 status and jewel magecraft to be able to imitate Flat Escardos's magical hacking using a giant pentagram with jewels at each end. Being an average 1 means that, unless her opponent had one of the rare, weird elements, Rin would be elementally compatible with anything a magus could have. She has the ideal talent for magecraft hacking, even though she doesn't have any reliable way to read the opponent's wavelength and formula yet and needs Lord Elmeloy II to assist her in finding the enemy's data on the Lux Carta. She further evolves as a counter-based fighter when she devises the Pseudo-Edelstein, Gigi Hauski, lit. Pseudo-Gemstone, counterspell with Lord Elmeloy II's help. She can also use small statues of amethyst in form of owls, Fukuro, as familiars for reconnaissance purposes. Her most common offensive spell is a Finnish technique known as Gando, which concentrates magical energy into Rin's forefinger, resulting in a hazy black orb to be subsequently fired like a bullet. Originally intended to be a curse, Rin's variation on Gandr takes on an unusual, corporeal form. Additionally, Rin has bypassed any need for a verbal component to initiate this spell due to having inherited and infused magic crest of her family, and she can fire as many Gandu shots in an instant, even set up a barrier and rain them on an opponent if she so chooses. Since Rin's Gandu shot was particularly violent, capable of punching through and disintegrating a large portion of a concrete wall with just a single shot, it could be considered on the level of Fin shot, or Fin Gatling gun. Rin knows the popular spells, being able to make a bounded field the size of a classroom. Rin is also proficient with reinforcement sorcery, allowing her to strengthen her legs so much that she can run over 100 meters in less than 7 seconds, fast enough to be perceived as a blur to a regular human. She is also able to use it on herself for a few seconds to deal critical damage to even a servant-like caster with physical blows in a situation where Rin has her off guard. She can also make use of one of her jewels for a large amount of protection, and by placing it on her stomach to form a protective cover, she can even last a long duration of time being crushed in Berserker's grip. With 2 gems protecting her, she can wade through the mud of the Grail, and wading through a lake of fire would be no problem. She can also use healing magic to a degree, curing a girl who had her life force drained by Rider, healing Shiro's dead nerves, and treating her own wound sustained from Kirai, but unable to heal the wound made from Saber running Shiro through. She can also repair Shiro's broken window, hide her presence, and has knowledge of runes. Rin practices pseudo-karate as a form of self-defense. Her instructor in martial arts is Kirai, and his teaching was responsible for the sequence of moves she used to corner caster. While statistically superior to Kirai Kotomine, he would win 80% of the time by psychologically exploiting her past traumas to keep her from fighting at her full potential. Even without such knowledge, Kirai would still have a substantial combat advantage over Rin due to possessing over 10 years of experience as a professional killer of magi. If Bazette Frogamacrimitz had been able to participate in the war, she would have ended up being a threat to Rin. List of spells and incantations. Despite being Japanese, all of Rin's incantations are recited in German, because the first head of the family, Nagato Tohsaka, was a pupil of Kistur Zelrich Schweinord, hence why the family still uses German today. When Rin uses Jewel Magecraft, she uses incantations to designate the gemstone and effect to be activated. Abzug Bedienung Mittelstand, to eliminate bounded fields, notably Blood Fort Andromeda. Act, used with a jewel to block caster's Plague Wind. Anfang, flips open Rin's magic circuits. Blut der Erde, Lebenskraft Stone heals, healing spell. Der Spiegel form word fertig zoom transport, the mirror form is readying for transport, mein Meisterin yes my master. Aufnung de Kaleidoscope Gatter, opening the kaleidoscope gates, when forming a contract with Magical Ruby to become Magical Girl Kaleidoruby. Der Sexfach Stern. Vogelkafig der Bindette, sixfold star. The Birdcage of Binding / Schliessung, Ket der Finsternis, lock, Chains of Darkness, summons Chains of Darkness. Ein Korper ist ein Korper, used in conjunction with a topaz to blow up dragon tooth warriors in an explosion of blinding white light. Eins, zwei, Randverschwinden, using the jeweled sword Zelrich to cast powerful attacks of light able to cut down Dark Sakura's shadow giants. Es Befielt. Main Adam Schliest, using the jeweled sword Zelrich to cast powerful attacks of light able to cut down Dark Sakura's shadow giants. Es Erzelt Main Schatten, Nimmt Sie, using the jeweled sword Zelrich to cast powerful attacks of light able to cut down Dark Sakura's shadow giants. Es ist groß, es ist klein. Vox, got es Atlas, lightens her body, even to the point of being light as a feather, and adjust gravity. Can be shortened to es ist groß. In the anime adaptation, it is shown to also apply reinforcement to her legs. Es last free. Eilsalve, using the jeweled sword Zelrich to cast powerful attacks of light able to cut down Dark Sakura's shadow giants. Es last free. Worksug, using the jeweled sword Zelrich to cast powerful attacks of light able to cut down Dark Sakura's shadow giants. Fixierum, al salve, when casting bundles of magical energy. The anime adaptation changes these magic bullets to Gander shots instead. Funf, Dre, Veer. Resig und Brennend, das ist ein Ende conclusion Sword of Fire synergism. She unleashes a barrage of jewels, jewels 5, 3, and 4, as well as a fourth one in synergy, to penetrate caster's magical energy. Gabur, Zweihonder, using the jeweled sword Zelrich to cast powerful attacks of light able to cut down Dark Sakura's shadow giants. Guicht, zu Verdoppelung, used in conjunction with obsidian stones to make silver lights come down from the sky. Gib dem Wandernden Vogel das Trinkwasser, der vom langen Weg kommt / benutzt den Vogelrahmen, in dem der Schlüssel nicht eingewendet word / ich spin den Regenbogen in neuem selbst / Heizwetter, Regen, Wind, Schnee, Krieg, Ende, ununterbrochen. Incantation used to transplant part of her magic crest to Shiro Amiya. Identifizieren, Bestigen und kontinuierlich führen identify, confirm, and fire continuously. 3-count spell to continuously fire gander shots. Minuten vor Schweißen, to repair glass. After reciting the spell, she cuts the tip of her finger and puts a drop of her blood onto the glass. Nun, Act, 7. Still, Shyest Bestiasen, Urshiasung, ice spell, creating 3 giant icicles shaped like spears with enough magical energy concentrated in them to blow away a whole mansion, and able to freeze one of Berserker's arms. Open it, Schwernog. To the place I desire, the way I desire. Here we go, Sesam, Offendijk, used to open Zelrich's treasure chest using magical ruby. Pseudo-Edelstein, Gigi Hauski, lit. Pseudo-Gemstone, Pseudo-Edelstein.pseudo-gemstone / Funkstern im Umlauf, 5 stars in Revolution / Viel Licht Brocht Polarisiert Glasser Multilayered Polarization Spell Protocol, Verbinden Sie sich mit Ihren Traumen, Dreamwalking Connect / Mean Handheld 10 Viel Spiegelmirror Realm Domain. Generate Pseudo-Edelstein is a new spell developed by Rin years after the 5th Holy Grail War. It applies projection magecraft to create short-lived gemstones lasting a few seconds expended as catalysts for the purpose of polarizing her magical energy. The result is that she can rapidly and casually cast spells attuned to particular elemental affinities, and capable of contending against spells with superior magical energy through advantage, and equivalent in standing to the sort of spells a brand could cast. It is essentially a trick to fight and defeat opponents beyond her league. Normally, being a dedicated counter-based fighter in the world of magecraft doesn't work for 2 reasons, namely options being limited by elemental affinities and, even as an average one, having not enough time to analyze a spell or devise a counterspell in the time it takes to cast it. Pseudo-Edelstein solves that by making its circle of temporary gemstones double as both telescope and laser cannon, with the 5 elemental jewels all preloaded with Rin spells, so all she needs to do after figuring out what she's against is to quickly swap the lens and pass the metaphorical, light, magical energy through it. Basically, analyze the enemy's move through the viewing lens, pick an already active option, and respond immediately. Die Instrument Worden Gesten, Tuning Disclose / Grün Nummer 7, Emerald Number 7 / Der Wind Drinkt EINUND Brightet sich AUS, The Wind of Boring, used to cast a wind drill spell through Pseudo-Edelstein. Die Instrument Worden Gesten, Tuning Disclose / Gelb Nummer 4, Amber Number 4 / Schwerter Zerschlagen Blitze, The Sword that Averts Lightning, used to cast a lightning rod spell through Pseudo-Edelstein. Pseudo-Edelstein.pseudo-gemstone / 7, Sex, Funf, Spiegel, Bloom, Bluhen und Stoltsein, Bloom, 7th, 6th, 5th mirror and flower, divides a gander bullet into multiple colored ones. Rho AIAs, Brennender Himmel think upon the burning heavens / ich ken den Christ that would be as a ring, die Blumen beschützen mich the flower doth protect me, der Wachter de alten Schlosses ist unerschütterlich. The guardian of the ancient castle is unshakable / ein Blumenblatt in meinen Händen flower doth bloom by mine hand, AIAs der Telemanier, in the name of AIAs after the Holy Grail War. Rin has devised an imitation of the noble phantasm Rho AIAs. With a 6-verse incantation, it takes the form of a Sakura WP flower with 5 petals, instead of the 7 Larkspur WP petals, though it could more appropriately called a canopy than a shield. It's a defensive spell Rin holds in reserve, as it makes use of a year's worth of her savings. Sats. / Beklagter mein Werder werden geglaubt. / Way ist Swartz. / Richtig bleich Peich / Die Virgiltung vom Himmel. Formula for Rin's Geist contract with Shiro. Schliessung. Verfahren Dre, to erect her house's bounded field. In the manga adaptation of the Unlimited Blade Works route, the incantation is slightly modified into Schließung, Verfahren, Drelock Code 3. Different incantations are used by Shiro Amiya in Fate / Hollow Ataraxia, Abzug Bedienung Mittelstand to disable it, and Fung Mittelstand to reactivate it. Sex. Ein Flug, ein Halt, an unspecified attack against caster. 7, used with a jewel to block caster's electrical spell. Stark Gross 2, chanted to nullify one of caster's spell. In the anime adaptation, it is changed to a spell activating a jewel used as a flashbang to blind caster. Vertrag. Ein neuer Nagel ein neues Gesetz ein neues Verbrechen, I announce to the command spell. By the order of the Holy Grail, give the law of obedience to this one, my servant, using one of her command spells to force Archer to be obedient. Wir still Urshiasung, multiple magical attacks with an impact close to that of a high-caliber pistol. Viersen, Noon, Act. Drei Schwerter, Synergy, Ein Mold, attack spell consisting of superimposed gemstones creating a spiral made of overlapping light. It is said to be the highest amount of power a modern mage could hope for, reaching the realm of forbidden magecraft. Welt, Endi, to have the jeweled sword Zelrich self-destruct in an explosion of light powerful enough to destroy shadow giants. Equipment. Rin has inherited everything that belonged to her father, including heirloom jewels, jewels inherited from Zelrich, and the wares and knowledge to manage her workshop, the basement of the Tohsaka household. She originally would have had possession of all the commercialized spiritual lands that brought in more money than most second-owner families elsewhere, but Kiriai's mismanagement as her legal guardian has caused the most valuable properties to have been lost to others. She still obtains royalties from magical patents held by the Tohsaka family, *0,000,000 yen, annually without including additional revenue, so she can be considered relatively wealthy. She obtains jewels for her craft through exclusive channels used by her family, leaving her each day wondering whether she could have gotten a better price from the buyer if she had just become friends with that lady. In preparation for the Fifth Holy Grail War, Tokiomi left her a special inheritance in his will that requires her to solve a special puzzle to find and open a box of his effects. The most prominent items are a pendant and the catalyst, having been smashed at some point in time, he had used to summon Gilgamesh. Opening it also causes all the clocks in the household to immediately become set 1 hour fast as a bit of playfulness, as if to say, if she can't even notice a slip-up as trivial and close to home as this, it's too soon for her to fight in the Holy Grail War. Azoth Sword. Azoth Sword, Azato Ken, is a mystic code used as a tool for performing magecraft, amplifying the user's magical energy to assist with spells and strengthen them. Filling it with magical energy allows for it to be utilized as a magic wand at any time to form magic circles and effect physical divine mysteries. While it is called a dagger, it is not meant to be a weapon used for slashing or stabbing in its ceremonial nature, but it can function as such to kill a person. It is one of the most commonly used mystic codes in the Mages Association, and parents or teachers often present it as a gift to students at coming-of-age ceremonies. Using it to slay something like a servant can cause it to crumble away instantly afterward. Compass. When she was younger, Rin was gifted a magecraft compass, translated as mana gauge, for the craft essence in FGO North American version, by her father on her birthday. It looks like an ordinary compass from its shape and structure, but it doesn't point towards the north, instead pointing towards the direction where strong amounts of magical energy emanate out instead. She uses it to locate places with high mana footprints in order to find her disappeared friend Koton. Even years later, she still uses it. Jeweled Sword of Zelrich. Zelrich's main weapon is the Mystic Code, the Jeweled Sword Kistur Zelrich Schweinord, Hoziki Ken Kishua Zerureki Shubei Nogu, more commonly referred to as Jeweled Sword Zelrich, Hoziki Ken Zerureki, the Jewel Sword, Hoziki Ken, and Zelrich. It is a ritual dagger with a jeweled blade, an alien technology embodying general knowledge from a far future, beyond the reach of modern man. Shiro cannot tell the magical theory that constructed it even with all of Archer's knowledge. Zelrich carries the original, and he has left blueprints of the sword with the Tohsaka family as a sort of long-term homework that he expects will take many generations. Like normal mystic codes, it is only able to be used by him and those of his lineage. It is the tool with which he pushed back the mirror image of the moon by utilizing it to create a virtually limitless ether cannon unleashed through a magic square, a special magic circle. Jewels. Rin buys a variety of jewels, and those she utilizes in combat can reach prices of 500,000 yen each. Those that are made of crystals that are naturally able to easily store mana are made of precious metals and come with a very high price. She usually visits high-class pawn shops in the shopping district's back alleys for old gems that have been released by their former owners. As of the beginning of Fate/Stay Night, her savings consists of 20 jewels containing the energy she has saved for over 10 years, each costing 10 million yen to create in total. She uses 10 during Archer's summoning ritual, and uses the remaining 10 during the battles of the three routes. Among the jewels she uses, she is shown using a topaz for a wind spell and to blow up Castor's dragon tooth warriors, obsidians to create blinding silver lights, amethyst to make owl familiars and jade to make bird familiars, and a ruby and a sapphire releasing thorny vines to physically and magically restrain an opponent, with the sapphire's vine draining magical energy from the target and using it to power the binding spell on the ruby. Rin's Pendant. Rin's Pendant, Rin no Pendanto, is a powerful, one-of-a-kind jewel pendant left to Rin as part of her inheritance from her father, which she considers to be her father's memento. It is a 100-year-old Tohsaka family heirloom that is the greatest jewel within the household, far stronger than anything else with the equivalent of 10 years' worth of Rin's magical energy. As one of the best artifacts of its class that she believes Tokiomi left to allow her to win the Holy Grail War, Rin decides to utilize it as a last resort, believing anything to be possible with the amount of energy it possesses. It contains enough magical energy to revive a human being on the verge of death, which she uses early in the war to revive Shiro Amiya by restoring his damaged heart. She lacks the skill or ability to perform such a feat on her own, so it requires using the great energy of the pendant to make up for that. She creates a new heart to use as a substitute, believing the feat exemplary enough to be accepted to the clock tower instantly. After it is drained, it loses much of its weight and only retains a small amount of energy, less than her 10 remaining jewels for battle. She leaves it by Shiro by accident, deciding not to retrieve it because it has no true worth without any remaining energy. It is simply an ordinary, expensive jewel like that, even though it has some value to her as a memento. Shiro picks it up after regaining consciousness, keeping it as a memento of his unknown savior. Archer, a future version of Shiro from another timeline, kept the jewel all his life, making it a catalyst that connects him to his summoner. The jewel she holds during the ritual has no worth as a catalyst, but the jewel held by Archer allows for him to be summoned. It is one of the objects materialized with him, allowing him to give her his own pendant after they arrive home with Rin not knowing the difference. The pendant held by Shiro has a small amount of energy left, not even enough to use a single reinforcement spell according to him, while the one held by Archer has none. The connection is never discovered during Fate. Both pendants are revealed during Unlimited Blade Works after Shiro finds Archer's pendant at Rin's house and tells her of the one he kept, allowing for the connection between Shiro and Archer to be deduced due to that there should only be one such pendant in existence. Shiro eventually connects it to Rin during Heaven's Feel when thinking that she is the only person who could have saved him at that time. He brings it with him to the final battle with Sakura, later saving him by allowing Rider to use it as a landmark to locate him.
If you like this content, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you later, bye bye.